not a sailor that sails over sea, or over the wild briny pool. For he owns an airship and sails upon high, he's just like a bird on the wing. And when the shadows of evening draw nigh, he'll sail to my window and sing. Come take a trip in my airship, come take a sail among the stars. Come have a ride around Venus, come have a spin around Mars. No one to work while we're busy, no one to see while we school. Come take a trip in my airship and we'll visit the man in the moon.
Hello and welcome to Airship 27 Productions podcast number 71, the first of the new year, 2021. I'm Chief Engineer Rob Davis here on deck alongside my co-host, Captain Ron Fortier.
Hey, greetings, Loyal Airmen, and welcome. Welcome, as Rob has already told you, the first episode of the new podcast for 2021. And this month's show, we're going to continue a tradition that we started last year with our January podcast, which we're going to give you a recap of all the titles that we actually released in 2020, the year of the COVID.
Oh, my.
All right. But it was very productive for us here at Airship 27,
Yeah.
along with our writers and artists. And it's going to take a little while. We'll see if we can scrunch that into an hour. And so for that reason, we're going to get rolling here. And I have the distinct honor of giving you the bad joke of the month first.
Oh, man.
And here we go. A police officer was walking through a very nice city park one day when he happened to see an old man sitting on a bench by himself and crying his heart out. So the police officer went over and says, "Excuse me, sir." He says, is there a problem? He says, "Are you all right? Are you hurt?" "Oh, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt." And he kept crying. So the cop sat down next to him. He said, "Well, what's going on?" He says, a while back, he says, I happened to meet this beautiful young woman, half my age, and she basically told me she was a gold digger right up front, that she wanted to marry me for my money. But she promised that if I married her, she would take good care of me, and she has. And he's crying. The cop, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "She wakes me up every morning with fantastic sex. Then she makes me breakfast, anything I want, pancakes, flapjacks, bacon and eggs, you name it. Then once that's all done, she cleans the house. She keeps it spotless. And then for lunch, homemade soups, sandwiches, whatever you could think of. By the afternoon, we go for a walk in the park, or she watches my favorite sports shows with me. Comes nighttime, I have a gourmet meal." And he's still crying. The cop starts to scratch his head now. "And then what?" He goes, "Well, the evening comes and we cuddle. And then there's more fantastic sex when I go to sleep." Cop goes, "Well, excuse me, sir." He says, I'm trying to be understanding here, but why the hell are you crying?" And the old man looks at him and says, "Because I forgot where I live."
I'd cry too. Oh. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's a bad joke. That's
All
funny,
right.
but bad.
Stinker. All right. Okay. Hey, look. We actually produced and released. What's the final count here? It was like 23 titles in 2020. Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of them. We'll swap off, Rob and I.
Yep.
And we'll have credit listings here for who did what. And as we do this, whatever comments that we want to throw in, our memories of those projects or whatever, some may be more than others, and we'll whip our way through. So, Rob, why don't you tell our loyal airmen what the first release of 2019 was?
Drum roll, please. The Wraith is a superhero created by writer Frank Dershel, who has appeared in several novels and comic books. This one features stories by Frank, Bobby Nash, Greg Gick, Eric Franklin, and Adam Oravak. I hope that's pronounced correctly. I will be corrected, I'm sure, if I didn't. Chris Nye did the interior illustrations and Adam Shaw the cover.
All right. And that, for those of you not in the know, the Wraith was actually a comic book character, all right, that Frank Dershel created many, many years ago. And he's appeared in Frank's novels. He's appeared in several comic books. And I think we mentioned this before, Rob. There was actually a short independent Wraith movie made and released in Australia.
I think I remember that. Yeah. I seem to remember seeing that on Facebook or somewhere. Somebody posted it.
It was a real privilege for us to become a part of the Wraith canon, if you will. All right. So after the Wraith, book number 2 was Bulldog Drummond, Volume 2, Disaster Zones. This featured 3 new adventures by Ian Watson with interior illustrations by Howard Simpson and a cover by Chris Routing and Rob Davis. They collaborated on that cover. And as a lot of you know, this was our reimagining of that classic pulp character from the 1920s that, again, has been in more movies than you can shake a stick at, and novels and whatever. But I personally love this project. And fingers crossed, we should see another Bulldog Drummond out in 2021.
Yeah, Ian Watson is pretty prolific. He can pump stuff out pretty quick, and he apparently really enjoys doing this character. So, I'd expect to see another one sometime this coming year. And number 3, The Eye of Dawn by Brad Siner. This is a thriller about immortals who walk among us. Interior illustrations are by Clayton Merwin. His first work for us, and Ted Hammond turned in a gorgeous cover.
Right. So again, Brad Siner, a long-time writer in the new pulp field, and we've got several of his projects in the files. Hopefully, one of them's a collection of short stories, Rob. And I'm kind of hoping that once I can find an art package to go with it, we can put that out and get it out there. But Brad's a really gifted writer, and this is a great book. All right. So then along came book number 4. Which is a joy for Rob and I specifically, and that was Jezebel Johnson, Volume 6, Sisters of Vengeance, by the incomparable Nancy Hansen. And this, the 6th of her action-packed saga of the Pirate Queen. All artwork and interiors by Rob himself. And we're having a field day with that. We really are. And we'll talk a little bit more about the next book. All right, later.
That'll come toward the end of the podcast, but So number 5, Wudang 2, Exile of the Wanderer. This one's by the also incomparable Barbara Doran, second in this series of a Chinese martial artist wandering California, battling demons during the Gold Rush period. Gary Kato provided the interior illustrations, and yours truly, I did the cover, as I did on the first one.
Yeah, we kept Rob really busy.
Yeah, you'll hear that name several more times before we're done.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Number 6 on the list was Ravenwood, Stepson of Mystery, Volume 4, with stories by Lance Stahlberg, Dwayne Dawes, Michael Black, and Michael Housel. Features a dynamite cover by Adam Shaw and some really gorgeous, beautiful illustrations by Ed Cotto, who, if I'm not mistaken, went on. Did he win the Pulp Factory Award last year for Best Interior Illustrations?
I'm thinking he did. 2020 was was a decade of years that I can't remember, but I do believe that Ed did win the prize this last year, and and surprised the heck out of him when he did. So I believe he did win this time, and he's busy on another piece that we will mention before the podcast is over as well. So coming in at number 7, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Volume 15. This one features stories by I.A. Watson, Gary Lovisi, Dexter Fobby, and Jonathan Casey, with interior art by, yeah, here's that guy again, Rob Davis, and a great cover by Graham Hill.
Yep. We managed to get out 2 Sherlock Holmes books last year.
Yes.
You will be seeing the other one come up shortly.
Yeah,
But
it'll be on
the
the list.
Sherlock Holmes just keeps selling like crazy. His fandom is ever expanding, I think, Rob. I think as new generations discover him from year
Yeah,
to year, it
I
just
think so.
just keeps expanding. All right. So following that Sherlock Holmes book, we had number 8, Bay Phantom. Number 3, Midnight in Hell's Cathedral by Chuck Miller. Another terrific pulp adventure featuring the South's very own Mask Avenger. Kevin Paul Shaw Broden provided the interior illustrations, and Chris Routing did a really dynamite cover. And I think while we're mentioning this, if people get a chance to watch this, recently Chuck was in the hospital last week
Yes.
as we
Yeah.
record this, and had his gallbladder removed. We're happy to say everything went fine. He's okay. He's home and recovering, minus a gallbladder. So
And maybe he's listening or watching now. Recover quickly, Chuck.
please, yes, and please, all right, more Bay Phantom stories. We love them.
Yeah, bring them on. Bring them on. So, number 9 on the list is The Road Twice Traveled. Now, this one was kind of a departure. This was a novel by R.A. Jones. This is a truly special book about a man given a second chance to do his life over. I provided both the cover and the interior illustrations. Seems like every other book so far this last year was had my finger in it like that. But yeah, this is a very special book. It's a wonderful life with a little bit of a different twist to it. And as Ron will tell you, he and I both, there were certain sections where we both teared up on this one. And yeah, so this is a very moving book. It's well worth your time to pick it up. I'm trying to think. That one has not been on audiobook yet, has it?
No, not yet.
I don't think it has.
No.
We kind of got behind. Radio Archives was catching up with us there for a while, but he had some other things that popped up in the way, and he hasn't done as many books for us in the last few months. But I think that's turning around now, and we should start seeing them popping back up again. But anyway, this was a heck of a book, and well worth your time to pick up and read.
Right. It was one of 2, like Rob just described, out of the ballpark books that RA gave us last year. You'll be seeing the other one come up shortly. But I mean, recently I was talking to artist Gary Cotto, who I actually gave a copy of this book to as a Christmas gift this year. That's how much I think of The Road Twice Traveled. And Gary called me the other night to thank me for it. He just finished reading it and was so impressed by it. So we talked a little bit about it. And again, as the simple description of the book about a person's magical ability to go back and relive his life, the underlying theme of this, Rob, I think, is that philosophy of every act that you do, every decision that you make in your life has repercussions, whether it's next week or 2 years down the road or whatever. And as I ended my conversation with Gary, I told him, I says, reading R.A. Jones' book had me doing a lot of reflecting the weeks afterwards about my own life. And those things that went wrong in my life, buddy, I could actually trace back honestly to bad decisions.
Yep.
Whereas the things that were wonderful and blessings in my life, again, you trace back where I made the right decision. And so, yeah, it's a unique book. I hope it finds a much larger audience. It's exceptional.
Yep, I agree.
All right.
Obviously.
Number 10, Dan Fowler, G-Man, Volume 3. We had just released that. We had done volumes 1, 2 years ago. and I had been pushing like crazy to get a new one out, and last year it happened. Again, stories of the classic pulp G-Man, Dan Fowler, and the stories in this third volume were by Whit Howland, Gene Moyers, Aaron Powers, and Fred Adams Jr. Again, Kevin, Paul, Shaw, Broden provided the interior illustrations, and Chris routing the dynamic color cover. And it's always fun for us at Airship 27 when we can do one of the classic characters.
Yeah, we aren't doing those as much as we did when we first started. Which is fine to do too, but it's kind of fun to go back and grab these old characters like this and take them out for a dance.
There you go.
All right, number 11 on the list is Mystery Men and Women, Volume 6. This one features stories by Teal James Glenn, Curtis Fernland, Greg Hatcher, and Dale Cozort. Here's that guy again. Rob Davis took on all the interiors and the as Ron wrote, awesome cover. Again, this has been a very busy year for me, but with COVID, it made it easy. I was at home a lot more than I would have been otherwise, so I could get all this done. But another really fun book. We had a second story of Curtis Fernland's character, and I'm blanking on her name right at the moment.
Carey.
Yeah. We had another story
artist
for her, and we had a couple of other really interesting characters. The one that really sticks in my mind is, and I'm going to forget the name again, but it's the Greg Hatcher's character, who is Dr. Fix-It, I think it is, isn't it? Is it Dr. Fix-It? I believe it's Dr. Fix-It.
Okay.
But anyway,
right.
He's the guy that all the bad guys hire to build their weaponry and all that stuff, and it's a really fun read, and it's not a tongue-in-cheek take on this. It's a real serious take on something like that. But it was a real fun read, and this was a great book to illustrate. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Doc Fix-It is coming back in another volume.
Yes,
that's in production now, which we're both very, very happy about. And you know what? When we post a link to this particular show, I'm going to suggest to all our loyal airmen before they start watching it that they make this one of their drinking shows. Like, get a bottle of whiskey and a shot glass, and every time we mention Rob's name, take a drink.
Or Chris Rodding. Yeah. He's popped up a few times already.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okie doke. All right. Hey, number 12, which was really a blast for us. All right. It was the Who's Who in New Pulp, with 222 entries of the finest new pulp writers, artists, editors, reviewers, and publishers. It was an honor for Airship 27 to produce and get this volume out. Hopefully, it will become a valuable resource to pulp historians as time goes by. And kudos to Rob for a great job designing and assembling this beast, and to Jonathan Sweet for being our proofreader. This is one of those COVID things where we realized, because we weren't going to shows, we would have some time to do a special project like this. And it harkened back to a book that Rob and I had been a part of years ago in the comic field, that Don and Maggie Thompson, the late Don Thompson, had published, a directory of comic creators. And we just thought that after New Pulp has been around now, going on almost 2 decades, all right, that this kind of thing would probably be very handy for editors, and again, like I said, pulp historians. And we want to thank every one of those 222 creators who participated and got involved. I should again remind people, we continue to sell it on Amazon, and all the proceeds still go to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
Absolutely,
so
every
thanks.
Yep. Yeah, this one drove me nuts. So buy copies, please, because this one kept me really busy for a while, because stuff was coming in, orders were coming in left and right after it was published from all the guys that were contributors to it. So that one kept me busy for about 3 or 4 weeks. But it was a labor of love. This is one when Ron first pitched it to me, I went, duh. we probably should have done something like this earlier, but we won't be doing this again for a while.
There may be new additions in the future, but we're going to let a lapse of time, go by before, okay, as 5 years, 6 years, maybe, to the point where we have a lot of new creators entering the field, and it would be justified to, do a second edition and bring them on board.
Absolutely. Okay, you did 12. Now it's 13. Lucky 13. Brother Bones number 5, Tales of Cape Noir. This one's an anthology featuring the supporting character Ron's Brother Bones books. It features writers Fred Adams Jr., Drew Meyer, Andy Fix, and of course Ron. Here's that name again. Rob Davis provided the interior illustrations, and Michael Stribling did the cover on this one.
I was really happy to get this out last year because, again, there was this buzz about the new Brother Bones web series, which is still moving forward. Things are happening. I really don't want to take up time in this particular podcast, but I'm led to believe that by the time you and I do our February episode, we'll have some really nice announcements to make concerning the web series and where it's going. So
fingers crossed. It's moving. It's a tortoise, but it will get to the finish line. I think this one's actually going to make it.
Yeah, they're very methodical about how they're bringing it together.
And that's a very good thing. Yeah.
Amen. All right. 14, Alaris by Wayne Carey. Now, this was an old-fashioned, action-packed space adventure a la the early paperback days of Star Wars and Star Trek and those ace doubles that were popular in the 60s and 70s. It's the first of a new series, and James Lyle provided the interior illustrations, and as ever, Ted Hammond's turned in a beautiful cover, which purposely set out to mimic those DAW paperback covers of the 70s. He did a great job. And we've got the second novel waiting in the wings. And hopefully, once Ted has a free moment in his schedule, because we keep him hopping, I definitely want to get him on board to do the cover for the second one. Yeah. And we'll see if we can get James on board to do the interiors.
That'd be a good combo. They're a good combo.
Yep.
All right, number 15, Barry Baskerville's Christmas Mystery. Someone is stealing outdoor Christmas trees in Barry's neighborhood, and it is up to the boy detective to solve the case. This is the 7th in our Barry Baskerville children's series by writer Richard Kellogg and artist Gary Cato. Another fun entry in this series.
Yeah, I'm really caught with the fact that we've got several series and especially this one already up to 7 titles. All right. And Richard shows no signs of letting up. He's having a blast doing this. Gary's having a great time illustrating it. It's such a fun book for young readers because there's always a little puzzle, a little test of logic that Richard pulls in. All right. It's educational in that regards. And I still think there's a lot of potential here, Rob, for some film adaptation or a series like on Nickelodeon. Or something.
Yeah. Something could be done with this. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It really is. He's doing an excellent job with the characters.
Yep.
All right. And did I just do that?
I had 15. So you're 16, my friend.
All right. A top-notch modern-day spy thriller by writer Wayne Carey.
Give us the title.
Executive Gambit.
There it is.
Skipped right over it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Executive Gambit. This is a top-notch modern-day spy thriller by writer Wayne Carey. This is in the vein of such potboilers as done by Brad Thor and the late Tom Clancy. Yours truly provided the interior illustrations and the cover. Again. Take 2 drinks.
again, I am constantly amazed, and it's a theme that we repeat here all the time. But a lot, I say a lot. I think the majority of the writers that we have working with us, Rob, are so imaginative and don't get pigeonholed. All right, I mean their fields of interest is constantly changing and evolving, so that whenever they come to us with ideas or concept for books, I'm almost like, where did that come from? Okay, you have never done anything like this. All right, we're talking about RA and the road twice traveled, which was something totally different from a guy who's written nothing but action, adventure, and horror. Okay, so here we got Wayne Carey, whose first few books with us were the Quartermain
Mm-hmm.
stories. All
Yep.
right, classic pulp adventures on H. Rider Haggard's African Hero. Then he turns around and gives us this, what is it? Confederate role-playing haunted stories. All right, okay, out of left field, a ghost story, with Confederate soldiers. All right, and I'm thinking, okay. Then comes Alaris. I'm going, oh my God! Now we're into the '70s science fiction. Within months, we get Executive Gambit, and it's a modern day spy thriller,
Yeah.
political spy thriller,
Yeah.
brilliantly
Really
written.
good. Really
Oh
good.
yeah,
Fun to
it
read.
it is. It
It's a
moves
page
rather
turn.
quickly. Yeah, he nailed this. Okay,
Yep.
and again, it only impresses me a great deal, as a reader, never mind editor, that these guys have no bounds, my friend. Okay, their imagination is flawless, and I got to give you credit because, again, we've stretched your parameters this past year with these kind of thematic covers. Because once I'd read and edited Executive Gambit, I knew we had to get into that Tom Clancy arena to make this work. And it is in the history of Airship 27, the first cover where we had the author's name prominent and large atop the top
Yeah.
half of the cover,
We
and
went
then the
the
title
full
and
boat. Yeah, we
right,
went the full boat. It looks just like one of those pot boilers that that you see on the end cap in Barnes and Noble, or your local bookstore being
which was
sold
all
this
which
month.
was all
Yeah,
done on
and
purpose.
it uh, it qualifies.
Yeah,
It's that much fun to read. It starts, and it's pulp fiction. It starts out with an explosion and just keeps rollicking along all the way to the end of the book. So again, I've been very lucky to be able to read and illustrate some really great books this year.
yeah, and I know for a fact that Wayne was taken aback when he saw that cover initially. All right, and but hey, well deserved, Wayne. Okay,
Yeah,
you hit it out of the ballpark, and that
yeah.
cover merited that attention to it. So again, hey, hopefully in the future he'll give us a few more in that vein. They're a lot of fun to read, and it sold really well for us. All right, so here we go. Book number 17. Jenna Coin Mysteries, written by Robert Ritchie. It's the start of, again, a new series for us about a Boston-based young lady. All right, and think of this as a detective in the field of Nancy Drew or Miss Marble. Somewhere's in the middle.
Some
Uh,
in between, kind of in between those. Yeah,
right. Okay. So we went and got a new artist with us, Jason Wren, to do the interior illustrations, and he really impressed me and Rob a great deal. They're phenomenal. They're really
yeah.
well done.
Nicely
And
done. Yeah.
yeah, and then we went and got Ted Hammond again,
We
and
kept again. That might be on your drinking list too. Put him in there. When his name pops up, take another drink.
I love his cover for this because as ever,
Yes.
we were trying to play off of Nancy Drew. And so for all you loyal airmen who are at all curious about how these things, come to be, Rob will know. I went online looking for Nancy Drew movie posters
Yeah.
and actually found one from a 1942-43 Nancy Drew movie. Took that cover and sent it to Ted. and said, this is what we need, but of course you have to replace the figures with today's modern, et cetera, et cetera. And he turns in that cover, and it's just priceless. It's really beautiful. And the minute you see it, you know exactly what you're getting. All right.
Yeah.
Which is what a good cover should always do anyways. So, hey, thanks, Robert Ritchie. We hope to see more future Jenna Coin mysteries.
Should be fun.
And for, Jason Wren and Ted Hammond for knocking it out of the ballpark. So what was number 18? Let me go.
Fill your glass again, folks. Number 18, Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, Volume 16. This one features stories by, as usual, I.A. Watson, Ian Watson, and Greg Hammond with a Lee Houston Jr. As ever, yours truly delivered the interior illustrations, and I also did the cover on this, and it's based on an illustration by artist Hugo Matanya. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly and that's spelled correctly here, because it was spelled a couple of different ways online, and we finally found the actual illustration with a proper notation under it, so we could put it in the book itself, on the contents, or on the indicia page, because we wanted to credit his inspiration for this particular cover. And again, this was a lot of fun, as the Sherlock Holmes always are. Ian and Greg and Lee all just kind of knocked it out of the park again. And this one, another fun romp with Sherlock and John Watson.
Yep, and again, tip of the hat to you. This is the second time we've done this little twist where we've found a classic black and white pen and ink Sherlock Holmes sketch that appeared in some previous publication. And the first one we'd done back in 2018.
I think so. I think you're right.
Michael Youngblood. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that went over extremely well. And then it was a case of, I'm online all the time looking for new Sherlock Holmes images and pictures to help inspire covers and the artists that we get to do these covers, and kept seeing this one of Holmes standing there with Watson on the couch and going, who did this thing? What's this about? And talk with Rob about turning this into a cover. And that's when we discovered this appeared in an Italian Sherlock Holmes series of books. All right. Which only goes to show how universal these characters are. All right. And because they are, their covers and interior sketches become popular. Thanks to the internet today, these things pop up everywhere. So
yeah, when you do a Google search for Sherlock Holmes illustrations or Sherlock Holmes images, that one pops up in the mix.
Yeah.
Almost every time. I know it's on Pinterest in several lists that I follow. So it's a very popular image. So we wanted to give it an homage, and even note that it did inspire that cover. And again, it was a lot of fun to do. The original illustration just has Holmes standing in front playing his violin, and Watson laying on a couch listening to him. And there's I'm not sure whether he's enjoying this serenade that he's getting or not from what he shows. So I gave him kind of a mixed look in my illustration as well. But what I did was I actually gave it a background using images from the Sherlock Holmes Museum in London to kind of recreate the feel for that sitting room scene from Sherlock Holmes. And I always enjoy doing research like that, so this one was a lot of fun.
Well, so now we've done that twice, and hey, Loyal Airmen, do not be surprised if somewhere in the future, either Rob or myself trip over another spot illustration, and the light bulb goes off and says,
"Yeah,
that might make a nice cover."
Yep.
Hey, it's worked. We'll keep doing what works, All right. So number 19. And here we go. R.A. Jones's second really special book of 2020, Alice in Neverland. All right. R.A. Jones's whimsical fanciful novel, wherein Lewis Carroll's Alice travels to Neverland to meet Peter Pan, and together they share this fantastic adventure. Now, Gary Cato provides the interior illustrations. I say Cato, it's really Cato. Rob gets it right all the time. I get it wrong. Sorry, Gary. Okay.
Well,
we have Ed Cato and we have Gary Cato. All right, it's like, okay, guys. Anyways, Gary was the perfect guy to do this. Gary and I had actually done a Peter Pan comic book many, many years ago, and he had a blast doing this, and he loved the story. And we got Ted Hammond back with us again. Ted must have done a half dozen covers
you got to put on that drinking list.
Yeah, I know. And the cover is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you're not
perfect choice for that.
If you're not following my Friday morning blog, I tend to every now and then go rustle up my grandkids. All right. Alex, who is 22, and Cora, who is 24. And whenever I need some posing to be done for an artist, so I had gotten Cora to play Alice, and one of Alex's friends, who's a blonde towhead here, and basically had him standing in the back of a pickup truck, Rob, on the tailgate with his hands folded over his chest, right, feet together, and then Cora looking up at him, because the image I was looking for was Alice finding Peter, who's floating off the ground by 3 or 4 feet. And with just that image, which I snapped on my cell phone, I sent it to Ted, and we saw what Ted did with it. The cover was absolute.
Yeah. As usual, turned it around and knocked it out of the park.
So here we go. I mean, we basically get this philosophical, really insightful book from RA at the start of the year, and then at the end of the year, he sends us this really fanciful little tale, which had some serious underpinnings as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to give away. That would be a spoiler kind of thing, but he pays homage to these classic children's books, while at the same time adding another little level to it that comes towards the end of the book, which is very, very touching and heartwarming. And I think, if you grew up loving these kind of classics, I think this is a book that might interest you as well as your children.
Yep. Good book. All right. Number 20, Mark Justice's The Dead Sheriff. Number 4, Purity, by Michael Housel, with all art by, guess who? Rob Davis.
That guy.
Yeah. Take another drink. Michael Youngblood turned in a gorgeous cover. This series continues the weird Western characters created by the late Mark Justice. And I will tell you that this book creeped me out. There were a couple of scenes in here that really creeped me out, and this was a really well written book, and there are sequences in here that just will make your skin crawl. Seriously, but in a good way.
Yeah. Kudos to Michael for jumping in and doing this. I know I pretty much surprised him with asking if he wanted to be a part of it, but that only came about because he had been decent enough to buy the first 3 books on his own, and not only read them, but review them for us at Amazon and other places online, which I mean, hey guys, honestly, reviews are like gold to us. All right. And so anytime we get a decent review, it really helps us a great deal, and we appreciate it. So having read his previous reviews and knowing he was familiar with the concept, the cast, the characters, it was a no-brainer for me, because again, Michael's one of our now regular writers. I know what he's capable of doing. And so I approached him with, hey, would you like to do a dead sheriff entry for us? He was a little taken aback at first, but worked out a plot, sent me the plot. Initially, believe it, Rob, the plot was even a little more complicated. He had a few other subplots in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and what happened was in my reading through, and most writers lesson learned, okay, always give your editors a detailed outline of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so in looking at it, I realized that it would have taken up way too much time and confused a lot of issues, whereas his basic plot that he had with the villains was perfect. He didn't need subplots. Just have the good guys and the villains meet, the supporting cast, the small town where all this action takes place, etc., was a good story. So I, in turn, suggested that he lose the subplots. At which point, by the time he'd finished 3 or 4 chapters, he got back to me and went, "Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you."
Good move.
Yeah,
Good move.
yeah, yeah.
Now there is a subplot that runs through all the books that is taken a little further down in this book, but I didn't see much other than the subplot involving the new characters that the dead sheriff has to deal with in this particular book. But again, there's some creepy stuff here. This villain scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He was
He's
a winner.
vicious.
He's
Yeah.
a winner.
Ooh.
And hopefully again, I'm kind of hoping that even maybe before summer, Michael Panush, the California writer who's worked with us on several things in the past, will have his Dead Sheriff novel number 5 ready to go for us. And it's
Yeah,
again,
this is turning out to be a really good series for us.
Yeah.
Weird westerns seem to be a real thing right now, and these are really a great contributor to that genre.
Yep.
A
very,
lot
very
of fun.
much so. Yep.
Yeah,
We
a lot
will
of fun.
keep doing them as long as you guys keep reading them.
Yeah,
Thank
if you
you.
want to, tell us that you want to keep seeing them, and we'll keep sending them your way.
Always.
Yep.
Always. All right. Number 21. Blood is the New Black. Okay, by Fred Adams Jr. Now, this is a great new Sam Dunn murder mystery. Sam Dunn being an ex-musician who in the first book, and I was it?
Dead Man's Melody.
Melody, right? Thank you. Got involved with an old an old band friend of his dying. He was one of the suspects.
Yeah.
He gets involved with it and ends up solving the crime. Well, in this particular story, Sam is working for an independent little horror movie set, and the lead actress is actually killed one day on location in front of everybody on camera. Okay, it's a twisted mystery. It's got the usual suspects. Sam gets involved with the police again because he's intimately involved with the story. And again, Fred turns in this great mystery novel. It's brilliantly done. Rob just jumped on board after Richard Junn, who had illustrated the first one, came back. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate that continuity. And he does a really great sketch of the main characters that I know Fred loves a great deal.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Richard did the interiors, and Rob put together this really unique cover, which I want to say, like, what, out of Photoshop or whatever?
Yeah, it's and it's not too much different from what I did for the other book, it's Executive Gambit. It's
Yep.
taking different individual images that I find on the internet, and playing with them in Photoshop, changing them around, using different filters on them to give them a more painterly look, and compositing them together. And this one, when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But what it was there's a digital video camera that I found an advertisement for. So I took that picture, and then I found an interesting picture of a woman screaming, and I kind of superimposed that on the lens in the camera itself, so it looks like her reflection inside the lens. So that was an interesting exercise in how to use Photoshop, and it was actually a lot of fun to do.
It worked out. It's
Yeah.
a stunning cover, and once again, basically adheres to what the plot's about. Anybody looking at that cover has a pretty good idea what they're in for when they pick
If
it
they
up.
recognize the camera is not the old style camera with the two, Mickey Mouse sized ears,
Right.
on film canisters on it. Film cameras aren't like that, or movie cameras aren't like that anymore. They're digital, and some of them are only about this big. So, and this particular one is like that. And so if you don't recognize that kind of camera, you might not get it right away, but you should. If you look at it, you go, oh, okay, I get it now. But yeah, that one was a challenge, but a lot of fun to do all at once. And it in the background behind the camera, I also found another picture of the movie sets have these big bright lights that shine
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
sets, and I
Right.
put those behind the
Yeah.
camera. So
Yep.
yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, as you can tell.
Okay. All right. So what was number 22, amigo?
Number 22, All American Sports Stories, Volume 2. And this one was a long time coming. This one features 3 sports tales, a baseball Dexter 5, a college football yarn by Ron Fortier, and a boxing novella by Derek Ferguson, which actually starts out the book. Yours truly, I provided the interior illustrations. Once again, take another drink, folks. And Adam Shaw, the knockout cover. This one was Dexter's story is a story aimed at true baseball fans that like delving into the statistics and those sorts of things. So it was a little over my head as a fair weather fan of baseball, but other than that, it was a fun read. And both Ron's story and Derek's are both kind of heart tugging stories of different types each, but all 3 of these stories are really well written and a lot of fun to read. If you're into sports, even peripherally like I am, you will enjoy this book.
All right. And yeah, it was one of those that languished for the longest time after we'd done the first volume, and one that I personally was hoping that we could get back to, and we did. And since then, I know for a fact that Derek is thrilled that it is now back in print. This was a reprint for him, but one I thought needed a much larger audience.
Yeah.
And of course, Adam Shaw's cover is
Oh
from that
man.
story. That cover
Oh
looks
man.
like it came off of Sports Illustrated, Rob.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Again.
It's
Yeah.
Adam's amazing. Adam's amazing.
Yeah. He just blows me away every time.
And amazingly enough, I was very touched and surprised that after we put it out and we did our promo on it, publicizing it and getting the word out, how touched Dexter was. Apparently, this story was really special to Dexter. It was one that he'd worked on a long time, and he is a big baseball fan.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
wanted to get right.
Big baseball fan.
Right. So as you inferred, so that it comes out, and I like baseball, so I had a ball reading it. I think he
Yeah.
did a great job. So all in all, it's a book we're really proud of. It took a long time to get out, but I think it was worth the wait. All
Yep,
right. So
think
now
so.
here we go. Book number 3, which was our final release of
23. Yep.
2020, and the last book we released since last podcast. As you'll recall, we had mentioned 2 books that we'd gotten out at the start of December, and we'd hoped to get one more out, and we made it. We got this out before the end of the year, and it is Bass Reeves, Frontier
Squeaker.
Marshal, yeah, Volume 4. All right. And this volume featured stories by yours truly, Terry Alexander, Derek Ferguson again, and Mel Odom. Howard Simpson provided the black and white interior illustrations, and guess who did the cover?
Wonder who?
Yeah, hey, my
Take
bottle's
another
empty. Right, but again, Bass Reeves, we're building a following for this series big time, and that's only because more and more people now becoming to understand and realize who this true historical character was, which is why it's become a major objective for me and Rob and Airship 27 to at least do one Bass Reeves anthology per year, and
Right.
it's something that we're going to work very hard to do. He's a great character. It's personally fun for me to write him. And again, I like Westerns anyways. And this is old-fashioned Westerns. Now,
Yeah.
understand the stories are fictional they're fictional, but the writers who tackle them take them very seriously. All right. And this isn't Roy Rogers or Gene Autry singing Sons of the Pioneers. This is the gritty West, okay, that people fought and died for on the frontier, trying to eke out a life and just make things, happen, okay, to
Yeah,
survive.
it's gritty, but pulpy and but lots of fun. If you really like westerns, and even if you don't, this is Bass Reeves is such an interesting character, an interesting person
Yeah.
that it's fascinating to kind of delve into the kinds of things that he did, because these are fictional, but he did some stuff that's pretty unbelievable. You wouldn't if you wrote the stories, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That's how wild some of his real stuff.
Well said, Rob. The truth
So,
of the matter is,
yeah.
that the facts are stranger than anything that us writers can make up.
Right.
For real. All right, and that was it. We did it. 23 books in what had started out to be a very slow month.
Yeah.
Then slow year, I should say, and then turned into a topsy-turvy year. What with COVID and everything else. Yeah. All right. So here we go. What can we expect next, buddy? What do you think? We know what's going to be next. Why don't you tell the Loyal Airmen?
Well, yeah, it's ready to roll out right now. So as we're speaking, it's all the pieces are in. It's been proofed. The final piece fell in. The final piece of the jigsaw fell in earlier today. It would have been out already, but I've had several things that I needed to get done before it. So, but
I want to correct.
What were you going to say?
Before you even name it, I put an extra E at the end of her name when I wrote the agenda. So before you say it,
I usually catch those things when I'm reading.
I don't know why I do that, but I do. Yeah. But anyways, go ahead. Tell the Loyal Airmen.
That E is
just wants to be there. It just wants to be there.
Well, it's the most prevalent letter in the English language. So
this is true. True.
That's why it's where it is on the keyboard. So it's harder for you to get to it. It's so you don't get there too quick. And when they laid, sidebar. When they laid out typing keyboards, it was when there was, they had the hammers come up and they'd hit the paper. And a lot of times if you were typing too fast, those would come together and catch together and jam up the typewriter. So in order to slow people down, they put certain letters in the left hand to slow you down. And the most used letters are in the left hand. That's why it's a QWERTY board. That first line says QWERTY.
Yep,
those are all fairly those are used quite a bit in English. So that's why they're in the left hand. So your finger just slipped right over it and threw it right in there. Yep. But okay, so sidebar over. I love throwing a little bit of history in there.
Oh, hey, stupid stuff. Always
stupid stuff that I know that just comes. I don't know why I know it. I just do.
I love this stuff. So by all means,
me too. It just falls in my lap, and my brain will hold that, but it won't hold what happened 10 minutes.
Look, if any of you Loyal Airmen are ever on Jeopardy and it comes up as a question, you can thank us later.
Yes. Send us some money. Okay. So anyway, the book in question that's coming out, it should be up at Amazon on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, is Jezebel Johnston, not John Stone, Volume 7, Mastiff. That's written by Nancy Hansen with interior art by, who is this guy? Rob Davis. And a dazzling cover again by the fantastic Adam Shaw. Every time we hand him something, he just we will sometimes even send him a sketch, and he will take whatever I've done and just take it the next two notches up. The guy is just an incredible artist, He's probably embarrassed that I say such good things about him, but I really admire his technique and his whole sensibility, the way his mind as a painter works.
Oh,
So
I sent him, I think, at least 3 different Pirate Queen illustrations.
yeah,
Okay, with no other reason than to say, you know, give this some luck, okay, and hope it inspires you. All right.
yeah,
What he turned around and gave us was 100% better than any of those illustrations.
absolutely. That's the way he works. I mean, you just give him a little bit you give him a spark, and he will set a bonfire.
Wow.
Yeah, just really. So thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. Really.
Yeah,
All right. And then almost neck and neck. We're really getting into the home stretch with this finally. All right. And that's Roon Master, Shiel Maiden's Tale by writer Mike Bullock. Okay. This is one of those classic, like Robert E. Howard, Conan Sword and Sorcery stories. The interior is by our good buddy Chris Nye, who turned in some beautiful imagery. And Steve Otis, another phenomenal painter, all right, is now in the final painting itself. He sent Rob
right.
and I an early composition sketch, which both of us thought was dead on, exactly
Yep.
what the book needed. Rob's already worked out a really nice logo for it, so we're all set. So once Steve's cover comes in, this book has been read, it's been proofed, that'll be it.
Yeah,
And
it was
off to the
just like
press as it goes.
just like Jezebel Johnston. They were both sitting there waiting for the cover.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of which one came in first. So which one would be the first one of 2021, and it's ending up being Jezebel Johnston, which is fine because it's a fun read. It really is. This
And
whole
we may
this
get a third book out this month. Maybe not. It'll be in February, and that'll be
the next one is The Musketeers' New Adventures, stories by Paul Beal, Alan Porter, and Joel Jenkins. Interior illustrations by the aforementioned Ed Cato, and cover by Adam Shaw, who's already turned in a spectacular cover. This one, we're just waiting on Ed to finish up his work, and then we'll send it off to the proofreader and have him look it over, him or her. Look it over, and then that one will be ready to pump out the pulp door.
we're gonna have some really great titles starting 2021.
And this was starting off with a bang. We last year it just looked like we were pulling teeth to get books out, but this year we're starting out of the gate with 3 just about ready to go. So this is going to be a little bit different year. I hope on a lot of different levels rather than just what we've dealt with.
Here's hoping that some of you loyal airmen and good friends of ours in the pulp community will actually see Ron and Rob in the flesh before the year is over.
Yes,
please,
yes,
please,
yeah.
please,
We just
please.
heard that Windy City is moving from April to September.
Yes.
And I don't if you've been paying attention to our podcasts, you heard that both Planet Comic-Con, which I attend every year, and Windy City were both the same weekend this year. They had been scheduled for the same weekend, so I had to drop one of them. Well, the first time this particular thing happened, I dropped Planet Comic-Con. So this time, Windy City had to go. So when it came back that they had moved it to September, I went, yes. Now I can do both.
Yes.
Now, who knows if Planet Comic-Con is going to come off in April, like they're saying, but in any case, I don't think they're going to be the same weekend, even if Planet Comic-Con moves. So anyway, I got our tables back. They were still available. So it looks like in September, folks in Chicago, look out because we're going to be there. Hopefully by then COVID will be over, or we'll be, we'll be starting to put nails in the coffin, at least. It may not be completely dead, but let's put a stake in its heart and put nails in the coffin so that it is.
Amen. Amen.
But we will hopefully see you in Chicago in September, and sometime this year in Kansas City, you'll be seeing me. So
Yeah. And
anyway,
then and
fingers
then and
crossed.
then after Windy City, there'll be Pulp Fest to look at. So
Well, actually, Pulp Fest happens before that, but yeah,
before. So yeah, okay. I got 'em
I think
flipped
it's
around.
July or August,
Right.
and we are going to that as well.
Yeah.
We've got tables purchased for that. First time in many years. We were going to go last summer,
Yeah.
and COVID hit and just blew everything up. So, but we're keeping the tables. We're going to still go. It looks like the show looks like it's getting to the level where we think we can make a go of it. So we'll try and make it, and so we're going to have, for the first time in several years now, we'll be going to two pulp shows in 1 year. So fingers crossed, everything works out and we can do both.
Yep.
So
Yep. All right. And hey, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show. There weren't any questions this month, only because we knew we were going to do that long
yeah,
recap of titles. All right. And that the show might go a little beyond our normal 1 hour. Knock on wood. I think we're bringing in and
we're
rather
pretty close. Yep.
yeah, we're on a timely clock right now. I think things are working out just fine. Enough so that we can get Rob's joke and then look out.
Okay. Last time, I thanked my wife Teresa because she had found the joke, and again, she's been reading this joke book, and she was going through it, and she found another one she thought would be perfect for the podcast. She gave it to me, and I agree, and I'm about to read it for you. So thank you, Teresa. Hang on to your hat. Here we go. And this strangely enough, it's got some elements similar to the joke that Ron told earlier. You'll see here in just a second. Okay. There was a middle-aged guy who bought a brand new Mercedes convertible SLK. He took off down the road, sped the car up to 80 miles an hour, and enjoyed the wind blowing in what was left of the hair on top of his head. He accelerated some more, and then he looked in the rearview mirror. There was a state trooper right behind him with the lights flashing and the siren blasting. I can get away from him with no problem, thought the man as he floored it and flew down the road at over 100 miles an hour. Then he reconsidered. He went, man, what am I doing? I'm too old for this sort of thing. He pulled over to the side of the road and waited for the trooper to catch up with him. The trooper pulled in behind the Mercedes and walked up to the man. Sir, he said, looking at his watch, my shift ends in 30 minutes. And if you can give me a reason why you were speeding that I've never heard before, I'll let you go with just a warning. The man looked at the trooper and announced, last week, my wife ran off with a state trooper, and I thought you were bringing her back. The trooper said, have a nice day, sir. And note, my wife gave me that joke.
Oh, oh, bad.
Thought you
Oh,
were bringing her back.
okay, buddy. Anything else? Anything else you want to
Okay.
share?
We have, as you noted earlier, we've had several people that have been either in the hospital or have had other problems. Some of them COVID related, some not. In fact, we just learned today via, I think it was on Facebook, Rick Croxton was in a coma for like at least, I think it was 2 to 4 weeks. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but that's COVID-19 punched him. I mean, just took him out for like 3 or 4 weeks. Fortunately for us and for his friends, Rick has made it through, and he's on the way to recovery. He's doing physical therapy right now, and I've heard from several other folks who have either had loved ones or people close to them who have been either taken or knocked down very hard by COVID. And I got some very sad news right after Christmas that a close comic book friend of mine, Steve Lytle, uh, who had undiagnosed COVID-19, he thought he just had the flu,
Oh,
and he had a cardiac arrest due to it and passed away. They couldn't revive him,
oh,
and his wife is devastated. I am devastated. We have many folks from the Kansas City comics world who are devastated by this, but we're all rallying around Marianne, and she has been tested and found she has COVID as well, but apparently she has a mild case of it. Also, come to find out, my son, who works as a chef in an assisted living facility, has tested for COVID and is positive. He fortunately has very mild symptoms and is doing okay. He's on the mend as well. But it just drives home how fragile life is and how nasty this disease is. So my heart is broken about Steve Lytle, but fortunately uh, we're moving on beyond that. The vaccines are out there. I plan to take it as soon as it's available to me.
yeah.
I suggest to everyone that when they have the opportunity, please go get vaccinated. There are going to be, I understand, most of them are mild, but I know several people who have had the vaccine, and the biggest problem they've had is a sore arm. I can live with that. I can
Right,
live
and
with
you
it.
know what?
I
At the
think
same
it
time,
is.
let's just add this because I think it was one of the sadder offshoots of this whole pandemic, Rob. And I think you're aware of the fact that a lot of people got so afraid of it that they would have symptoms and not want to go to the doctors.
Yeah,
Okay, and don't do that. Please do not do that. Okay, even if it's not COVID. All right.
yeah. Even if
If
it's
you
just the
are
flu.
sick, if you have something that is bothering you, all right, and it could be something serious, don't wait. Call your local primary care doctor and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling good." Tell them your symptoms, and if they think they should see you, they'll have you come in. They'll do
Yeah,
the right procedures,
right,
but don't
right.
play with your health, even during a pandemic. Okay, it's
No,
like Rob said, it's too fragile. All right, and if you wait, all right, what a sad tragedy. Just because you're afraid to go see a doctor. Don't do that. Please don't do
yeah.
that.
I don't think that's what happened with Steve. I think he had
Yeah.
what he thought were just mild flu symptoms, but it was affecting him a lot worse than he
Well,
realized, and it
just
finally took him.
right. Well, I mean, we over the last week or so heard of several people that we knew, including my younger sister and her husband, both tested positive.
Yeah,
Okay. So out of the blue, my sister drops us a text and says that Norm and her husband and I are being quarantined. Okay. Where we tested positive. Well, Annie, my sister, had mild symptoms, and initially so did Norm, her husband. Well, about 2 days later, I get a text from Annie saying Norm's in the hospital.
yeah,
Overnight, he started having problems breathing.
yeah,
And Annie didn't waste a second. She called 911. They came and got him,
yeah.
rushed him to the hospital, and found out he developed a blood clot in his lung.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
And
my.
they
That's
got rid of it.
dangerous.
Yeah, they got
That's
rid of it
very dangerous.
immediately. All right. And thank her for getting him there as quick as possible. She
Hmm.
was bummed out. She couldn't go in to see him. He was in the hospital for only 2 days. And once they knew the clot was gone, he was breathing normally and recovering, he came back home. But that again underscores what we're trying to tell you, loyal
Right.
airmen. Okay. Do not wait a second. Okay. If you're sick, go get help.
And until we get the vaccine and even for a time afterwards,
Yeah.
the best things we can do, wash our hands frequently, uh, wear a mask when you're out in public, and stay 6 feet away from people. It's these are we've been doing this for almost a year now. It's driving me crazy too. I want to get out. I'd like to give hugs to certain people, and I can't because you know. But and I'm not crazy about wearing a mask either. If you wear them for enough hours, they start irritating your face.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? COVID's a lot more irritating.
I was going to say I don't want the alternative, buddy. No, thank you.
No,
I want.
it's a small price to pay, and it's not a political thing, folks. This is a health thing. It has nothing to do with your rights. Just please, for yourself, for those that are around you, wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away from folks, and hopefully we'll get past this. And we can get back to a new normal. It's not going to be like it was. I can guarantee you. The world is going to be different after this. It was after the flu pandemic in the early 20th century. It's going to be the same thing here.
Yep.
Where it's going to be a whole new world. As someone posted on Facebook, I now understand why the Roaring 20s were like they were. Because it was right after the flu pandemic, and everybody had been staying in and all that. So they went crazy for a while. And I suspect we'll probably have a little bit of that. But you know what? Let's do it. Let's party like crazy after this is all gone.
Right.
Let's have a good time.
Hey,
yep.
we want all of you to be here for a long time.
Come stay healthy so we can see you in August and September.
Amen.
Amen. And whenever Planet Comic-Con is.
You got it.
Right now. Okay. So we're
all right, Rob. So I'll let you sign us off.
All right. And thus ends another hour of pulpy platitudes about purple prose. This is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron says, down ship.
Xylophone solo, come take a trip in my airship medley, played by Albert Bentler, Edison Rico.